Hello and welcome to Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert, coming to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom. Let's take a look at the headlines. President Tinubu condemns Plateau killings, calls for action. House of Representatives asks CBN to stop social media details as requirement for bank customers. Plus, Israelis block highways to protest reform that would limit judicial checks on government. Details of these stories and more in a moment. We begin with the number one citizen of Nigeria, President Bola Tinubu, who has condemned the escalating violence and killings in Plateau, charging various social, cultural and religious bodies in the state to take steps to halt the carnage. In a statement by his special advisor on special duties, communication and strategy, Dele Alake, President Tinubu, particularly in strong terms, condemned the most recent internecine killings in Mangu local government area of Plateau State and parts of Benue State. According to reports, Tinubu found very depressing the festering reprisal attacks, needless and avoidable bloodletting among communities in the two states. Meanwhile, President Tinubu has written to the Senate requesting the confirmation of the newly appointed service chiefs. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, who read the letter at the resumption of the plenary session today, said the service chiefs would be screened by the entire Senate in its place, yet the service chiefs would be screened by the Committee of the Whole of the Senate. The service chiefs to be confirmed are Major General C.G. Musa, Chief of Defense Staff, Vice Marshal H.B. Abubakar, Chief of Air Staff. The President in the letter said that the request was in compliance with the provisions of Section 18, Subsection 1 of the Armed Forces Act, Cap. 820, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004. Away from that now, the federal government has arraigned the People's Democratic Party PDP candidate in the 2023 governorship election in Ogun State, Ladi Adebutu, and 9 others before an Ogun State High Court sitting in Abeokuta for vote buying. Recall that Adebutu was reportedly accused of providing 200,000 prepaid Verve cards loaded with 10,000 naira each and inscribed with the same name for the purpose of corruptly influencing voters to vote for PDP candidates during the said elections. Reports say Adebutu, who was charged in absentia, has been on the run from law. The case, which was brought before Justice Abiodun Akinyemi, sitting in Court 4, was adjourned till today, July 10, but after the sitting, the court further adjourned the case to September 26. And include the repair of Umahia Umudike Ikadakbane Aba Osisioma to Port Harcourt roads in the planned nationwide repair. The upper chamber has also asked its Committee of the Roads. According to the Senate, this is to ascertain the level of funds released, utilization, the level of work completed, and factors contributing to the unaccounted delays in the execution of the project, and report to the Senate within 4 weeks for further legislative action. In his presentation, Senator Nwokocha said that the roads were critical national assets and federal government category of the country. Nwokocha, who noted that the roads have continued to dilapidate due to unaccountable delays in the completion of the project, said they are central to the economic and social nerves of the cities of Aba, Umahia, Uyo, Ikorogbene, and Port Harcourt. According to him, members of the Senate Selection Committee, mainly composed of presiding officer and principal officers of the upper chamber, include Senators Godswill Akpabio, Barrow Jibrin, Opeyemi Bamidele, Aline Dume, Dave Omahi, and Lola Ashiru. Others are Senators Simon Nwakwan, Oyewumi Olarere, Darlington Nwokocha, and Rufai Hanga. Akpabio also named the chairman and deputy chairman of the other special committees of the Senate. Senator Titus Zam was named as the chairman, Senate Committee on Rules and Business, with Senator Opeyemi Bamidele as vice chairman, while Senator Sunday Karimi was appointed chairman, Committee on Senate Services, with Senator Williams Jonah as vice chairman. Others are Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, with Senator Okechukwu as chairman and Khalid Mustafa as vice chairman. Moving on now to the Green Chambers, where the House of Representatives has asked the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) to stop the implementation of its directive that banks should add 9 members. It would be recalled that the CBN had released its Customer Due Diligence Regulations 2023, noting that the inclusion of social media handles on Know Your Customer would galvanize compliance with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing provisions. However, the House was worried that if the directive takes effect, Nigerians who are not on social media with large turnovers from their businesses and trades would be systematically excluded from formal banking systems. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives subsidy. This followed the adoption of a motion by Adeboyega Isiaka of APC Ogun at the plenary in Abuja today. Presenting the motion, Isiaka said the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS) had in November 2019 banned the sale and supply of petrol in communities within 20 kilometers of the Nigerian border. He said that the ban was to prevent smuggling of subsidized petroleum products to the neighboring countries. Isiaka said, however, that the ban was no longer required since government had removed the subsidy on petrol, calling for immediate lifting of the ban as it had caused untold hardship on millions of Nigerians living and conducting businesses within the affected area. He said the communities were located in 15 states, adding that residents had to travel kilometers to get the products or pay extra amounts to secure the products for their daily needs. In the meantime, the House of Representatives has urged the National Universities Commission (NUC) to suspend the implementation of an increase in the tuition fees of universities. This was contained in a motion by Aliyu Sani Madaki, who noted that the universities that hiked their fees included Bayero University of Kano, the University of Nigeria Nsukka, the University of Uyo, University of Maiduguri, Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umudike, and Federal University, Dutse, among others. Lawmakers in the Green Chamber were concerned that the hike in fees by the universities was happening against the worsening poverty level in the country, inflation, high rate of unemployment, and the recent fuel price hike. They feared that the increase could cause disruptions for a number of students who could not afford the fees, and that while many of them would be forced to defer their studies, others could drop out entirely. To the judiciary now, where Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has ordered an investigation of the prosecution counsel Ibrahim Mohammed, who filed an 8-count charge against Senator Stella Odua. The court is inquiring how the charge sheet, which was filed in June by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission (EFCC), is being prosecuted by the police. The controversy began when the matter was called and the counsel, Mohammed, announced his appearance for the Nigeria Police Force. He told the court that the defendant, Stella Odua, was not in court because the investigating police officer, IPO, said she could not be served because she was indisposed. The judge went further to inquire about who the National Electoral Commission presented forms EC8A, EC8B, and EC8C of various polling units, wards, and local government areas to the Kaduna Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in the state today. The forms span wards in 9 local government areas of Benengwari, Igabi, Kaduna North, Kabao, Lere, Sabongari, Zaria, and Kudan, respectively. The tribunal, headed by Justice Victor Obiawe, had earlier ordered the Commission to bring before it the original copies of the said documents, which include Form EC8D of the 23 local government areas of the state. This was based on the application of the petitioner's People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate in the 2023 governorship election in the state, Isa Ashiru. Moving on now, Governor Alex Otti has directed immediate payment of arrears of April salaries owed public workers in Abia State by the immediate past administration of ex-Governor Okezie Ikpeazu. Otti also ordered the payment of June pensions to retirees, some of whom were being owed upwards of 50 months by the last administration. The payments, according to a statement by his Chief Press Secretary Kazie Uko, are in fulfillment of his campaign promise not to owe pensioners and those in service and to clear all outstanding verified salary arrears. Otti added that he approved the payment to mitigate the plights of workers and pensioners in the state following accumulated wage arrears. In a separate development, the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Abdul Karim Choko, has promised that the anti-graft agency will sustain its partnership with the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC. According to a statement by the Commission spokesperson Wilson Owojaren, Choko also said the EFCC was committed to working with critical stakeholders in the actualization of UNODC's mandate in Nigeria. According to the statement, Choko made this known during a meeting with the UNODC country representative Oliver Stolpe at the Commission corporate headquarters in Abuja. On security matters now, the Chief of Army Staff, Taoreed Lagbaja, has rewarded 7 officers and 5 soldiers for various acts of valor. Lagbaja rewarded the officers with medals and special commendation letters at this year's Army Day celebration in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. Among those recognized and honored was Brigadier General Everest Ifeanyi Okoro of the Infantry Corps, who is the Commander 13th Brigade Nigerian Army, Calabar. Okoro was honored for being a proactive senior officer who conducted several operations to curb the occasional flow of the activities of Ambazonian rebels from the Republic of Cameroon. Meanwhile, the 6th Division of the Nigerian Army in Port Harcourt said its men arrested one Desmond Oke for impersonation, while 12 others were nabbed for their alleged involvement in illegal oil bunkering. The Army said the 12 suspects were arrested by the troops of the division while siphoning crude oil from the Rumeokpe Okporowo pipeline near the Okoba community in Ahwada East local government area of Rivers State. The garrison commander, 6th Division Nigeria Army headquarters in Port Harcourt, Brigadier General Eddie Effiong, disclosed this while parading the suspects before newsmen. Effiong, who is also the commander of Sector 3 Operation Delta Save Military Joint Task Force, said the suspects would be handed over to the appropriate agencies for prosecution. In another development, the acting Controller General of the Nigeria Customs Service (NCS), Adewale Adeniyi, has vowed a heavy clampdown on oil thieves, insisting that the nation cannot afford to let saboteurs take over its economy. Adeniyi, who hinted that there were still cases of smuggling of premium motor spirit, popularly called petrol, at Nigeria's strategies to close in on oil thieves. He made the disclosure on the sidelines of a sensitization workshop on the Nigeria Customs Service Act 2023 for management staff of the NCS in Abuja. Adeniyi added that the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPCL) intercepted a suspected Cameroon-bound vessel owned by a Nigerian registered company with a cargo of crude oil on board. In a related development, security operatives of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta Safe, in collaboration with Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, have set ablaze an intercepted vessel carrying barrels of stolen crude oil in the Escravos area of Delta State. The vessel was set ablaze by a military helicopter. The vessel, allegedly owned by a Nigerian registered company, was heading to Cameroon with the cargo on board when it was apprehended at an offshore location with the captain and crew members on board. According to the Executive Director of Operations and Technical at Tantita Security, Captain Warrit Aniswa, and the commander of the Joint Task Force Operation Delta State, Rear Admiral Olusegun Ferreira, the oil cargo was illegally sourced from a well-jacketed offshore in Ondo State with no valid documentation at the time of the arrest. According to reports, the said vessel had operated in stealth mode for the last 12 years. The discovery was the latest in a series of disturbing findings by the Tantita Security Services Nigeria Limited, a security outfit owned by former militant leader government Polo, also known as Tompolo, and contracted by the Nigerian National Enforcement Agency. Brigadier General Buba Marawa, retired, has ordered a nationwide clampdown on the sale and use of nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas. Nitrous oxide, also called N20, is a colorless gas used for sedation and pain relief by dentists and medical professionals to sedate patients undergoing minor medical procedures. However, Marawa said the order was in response to the gas being used for recreational purposes as a drug by some fund seekers, adding that the demand for the substance had spiked. In a statement issued today, the agency spokesperson Femi Babafemi said the agency would not think twice to punish anyone caught with the substance. Meanwhile, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps (NSCDC) has announced the seizure of 7 trucks carrying 315,000 liters of illegally obtained petroleum products in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. He added that 15 suspects were arrested in connection with the crime. The state commandant of the NSCDC, Eluyemi Eluwade, disclosed this during a press conference at the command's exhibit yard in Uyo today, saying the suspects were apprehended along the Calabar-2 highway on July 7 by anti-vandal squad operatives acting on credible intelligence. Eluwade's HPFO as claimed by the suspects, noting that samples of the products have been obtained and would be taken for forensic analysis in an NNPC laboratory, after which the suspects will be charged in court. He further said that from preliminary investigations, the way bills presented by the suspects showed an expired license to deal in the petroleum products and warned that the Corps would not tolerate any form of criminality, economic sabotage, or vandalism of government critical infrastructure in the state. Still to come in the news. Nigeria now accounts for 33% of Africa's gas reserves. We'll bring you details after the break. To stay with us.
Business exists only to meet the needs of the people, but there's an extra advantage if your product and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Every day, we bring you up-to-date information on topical issues affecting the common Nigeria, from issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security, education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Anyeken
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai Anyeken on Connect every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and on Sunday 2:30 to 3 p.m. on channel 421 on Star Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories on how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death?
My lord, the matters council is leaving the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding you of that.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in court of
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Many thanks for staying tuned. Now to Africa, where the president of Mauritania, Mohamed Ghazouani, has called for the return of Mali to the G5 Sahel organization. Ghazouani made the appeal in the Mauritanian capital, Nouakchott, at the opening of the fourth session of the General Assembly of the Sahel Alliance, a platform of 27 bilateral partners and donors set up to mobilize international aid for the development of the region. Recall that Mali left the regional military alliance fighting jihadist groups in May last year, citing loss of autonomy and instrumentalization within the organization. Still in Africa, the president of the Central African Republic, Faustin Touadéra, has delivered the new constitution draft to the campaign organizers ahead of the referendum at the end of the month. The Minister for Youth and Sports, Aristide Rebos, claims the new constitution is the first that has not been imposed on the country. According to Rebos, the new constitution, if approved, removes the limit of 2 terms to the president, and therefore allowing the president to run for a 3rd term in office. He said the new constitution will be submitted to a referendum on July 30. Meanwhile, the Spanish Coast Guard has rescued 86 people from a migrant boat off the coast of the Canary Islands. At first, rescuers thought they had found one of 3 boats that have been missing since they left Senegal more than 2 weeks ago. But the Coast Guard now says this boat is a different vessel that they did not know about. According to migrant aid group Walking Borders, it means there are still more than 300 people missing at sea on 3 boats. Meanwhile, the 4th vessel was spotted by a search plane on Monday afternoon, with maritime rescuers initially reporting that they could see 200 people on board. In a separate development, 6 people are thought to be missing after a building collapsed in the Guinean capital, Conakry. According to reports, the apartment block tumbled onto 5 construction workers and a child. Meanwhile, the block is thought to be part of a government social housing project for public sector workers. Elsewhere, a Libyan court has jailed 37 people convicted of human trafficking following the deaths of 11 migrants who drowned in the Mediterranean Sea. 5 members of the criminal gang were sentenced to life in prison. Others received between 1 and 15 years, and all had been involved in organizing a dilapidated boat that was supposed to take migrants to Italy. Rights groups say many migrants experience horrific treatment there, both at the hands of smuggling gangs and inside state-run detention centers. Libya has been plagued by conflict and chaos since Colonel Muammar Gaddafi was toppled in 2011. Still in Africa, the campaign group Human Rights Watch has called on the International Criminal Court to investigate war crimes committed in the western Sudanese region of Darfur, including the killings of dozens of civilians. It said this happened during an ethically motivated attack on a town. Homes were looted and set ablaze. The rights group says Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces and allied Arab militias carried out the attack in late May, which officials said left Russian shelling on an aid hub in the town of Orikhev in southern Ukraine has killed 7 people. Reports say Orikhev has a pre-war population of 14,000 people and is in the front line, southeastern region of Zaporizhia, which Russian leader Vladimir Putin claimed to have annexed last year, despite not having full military control over it. Meanwhile, Orikhev's regional governor Yuri Malashko called it a war crime. Still on the foreign scene, the military alliance's chief Jens Stoltenberg says Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan has agreed to support Sweden's bid to join NATO. Stoltenberg said the Turkish leader would forward accusing Sweden of hosting Kurdish militants. Stoltenberg, speaking in Vilnius after hosting talks between Erdogan and Kristersson ahead of a NATO summit in the Lithuanian capital, described this as a historic step, but stressed that a clear date could not be given for when Sweden could join the military alliance, as this relied on the Turkish parliament, throwing into doubt a vital mechanism that provides life-saving support to millions of people. Reports say Russia vetoed a 9-month extension of the agreement, allowing for the conduit during a vote at the UN headquarters in New York, and then failed to muster enough votes to adopt just a 6-month extension into rebel-held areas of Syria expired on Monday. Meanwhile, many council members, including the United States, Britain and France, have called for a full-year extension, but they backed a 9-month compromise proposed by Switzerland and Brazil. In the meantime, Israeli protesters blocked highways leading to Jerusalem, Haifa and Nation. The demonstrations came the morning after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's parliamentary coalition gave initial approval to a bill to limit the Supreme Court's oversight powers, pressing forward with contentious proposed changes to the judiciary with ultra-Orthodox allies. Meanwhile, the plan has provoked months of sustained protests by opponents who say it is pushing the country toward authoritarian rule. Reports say anti-oaths at Israel's main international airport that could disrupt travel. Elsewhere, the longtime suspect in the at the age of 76. The case of the unsolved 1982 murders sent Americans into a panic and resulted in a nationwide safety overhaul that saw pharmaceutical companies apply protective foil seals to over-the-counter medication packaging. According to police in a statement, James Lewis was found unresponsive at his home and was pronounced dead. Chase Oman.
Thank you and good evening. It is another business day. My name is Davina Praise Omang. In the news, Nigeria current NUPRC, adding that the gas reserves in Nigeria could last for about 94 years. The Chief Executive Officer, NUPRC, Gbenga Komolafe, disclosed this in Abuja at the Nigerian Association for Energy Economics, the 16th Annual International Conference, with the theme, Energy Evolution, Transition and Reform, Prospects for African Economies. He said it was important to note that oil and gas would continue to guarantee energy security for Nigeria's massive population, estimated to be about 200 million people. IPMAN's protest. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, according to the IPMAN chairman, Suleja branch, Yahaya Al-Hassan, the marketers had outstanding tickets or premium motor spirit, PMS, also known as fuel, which the NNPC did not deliver before the subsidy removal. Al-Hassan said the outstanding PMS was paid for by its members during the subsidy regime. But after President Bola Tinubu announced the end of the subsidy, the NNPC decided to renegotiate the payment aid for at a new rate and asked to fund the previous payments made during the subsidy regime. The harmonization of revenue agencies. The federal government will harmonize all revenue collecting agencies for effective performance in the country, according to the Special Advisor to the President on Revenue, Zach Adedeji. He said the government would double the country's total annual revenue, which is currently below 15 trillion naira, by deepening the nation's revenue collection system. Adedeji revealed that the government would not collapse revenue-generating bodies like the Nigerian National Petroleum Company (NNPC) Limited, the Federal Inland Revenue Service (FIRS). He said President Bola Tinubu has already approved the harmonization of all the revenue-collecting agencies in the country. Nigerian Stock Market Report. At the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the benchmark all-share index increased by 1,065.6 basis points, a 1.65% appreciation to close at 65,669.2, 57% decline in turnover and a 39% decline in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 35.8 trillion naira. 115 listed equities participated in trading, ending with 38 gainers and 34 losers. Transcorp Hotel losing side, Consolidated Hallmark Insurance, came out last with an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 1.17 kobo per share. Chance recorded the highest volume of 91.7 million traded shares. This is all on business news. Back to you for the rest of the news.
Still to come in the news. Caster Semenya wins appeal at Europa. And thanks for staying tuned. Now in health, the Director General of the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, has warned Nigerians that the consumption of fruits ripened with calcium carbide may cause damage to the heart, kidney and liver. Adeyeye also said fruits ripened with calcium carbide have the tendency to cause cancer, frequent thirst, irritation in the mouth and nose, weakness, permanent skin damage, difficulty in swallowing, vomiting, and skin ulcer. The NAFDAC boss stated this today at the official flag-off of the agency's media sensitization workshop on the dangers of drug hawking and ripening of fruits, with a multifaceted approach to tackle the menace. So, in health, the Ministry of Health has urged Nigerians to make conscious efforts to avoid contracting diphtheria, as everyone is at risk of being infected. Adults above 60 years, while advising anyone experiencing the signs and symptoms to promptly go to the nearest health facility for proper diagnosis and treatment. The ministry said the disease, which is a life-threatening infection and blister wounds on the skin. It identified the prevention measures to include vaccination, promotion of herd immunity, and practice of good hygiene. Let's head over now to Isaac. Isaac, for latest sports stories we're tracking for you at this time.
Well, thank you very much. In sports, double Olympic 800-meter champion Casa Semenya was discriminated against by rules forcing her to lower her testosterone levels in order to compete. The European Court of Human Rights has found the 32-year-old South African was born with differences in social development and is not allowed to compete in any track levels in female athletes. A three-time 800-meter world champion and 800-meter 1,500-meter Commonwealth champion, Semenya has been in a long-running dispute with the World Athletics since regulations requiring her to have hormone treatment were introduced by the governing body in 2018. She has twice failed in legal battles to overturn the decision. The case at the ECHR was against the government of Switzerland for not protecting Semenya's right and dates back to the Swiss Supreme Court ruling to challenge the Swiss court or the CAS rulings later this year. In football, Tottenham has signed Manu Solomon from Shakhtar Donetsk on a 5-year deal. The 23-year-old Israel winger spent last season on loan at Fulham, where he scored 5 goals in 24 games. Solomon, the deal is reported to be a free transfer. Tottenham finished 8th in the Premier League last season, missed out on European qualification too. Solomon joined Fulham on loan from Shakhtar after exercising a FIFA rule allowing Ukraine-based players to suspend their contracts. The rule applying to players who are not Ukrainian nationals was introduced by the world governing body following the invasion of Russia. Ukraine. Solomon's performance helped Fulham to a 10th place Premier League finish, and manager Marco Silva was keen to keep him. He has 35 caps for Israel and has scored 7 goals since making his international debut in 2018. Well, more on transfers. Free agent reports said that he held talks with Luton, while there were also interest from Saudi Arabia. Young is 38, won the Premier League and the FA Cup with Manchester United, as well as the Serie A title with Inter Milan. The fullback would be Everton's first signing under manager Sean Dyche. Former Burnley boss Dyche took over in January, replacing the sacked from club, and earned 39 England caps playing in the 2018 World Cup semi-final defeat by Croatia. Well, back home, Kano Pillars have set up a committee to investigate the failure of the team to win its last 2 games at the National League promotion playoffs. The 5-man committee is chaired by Rabi Mohammed and Alhaji Bashir Babachila as secretary. The same Asugere side lost the last group game by a goal to Katino United tactician Ivan Tugenyi. Kano Pillars had sealed promotion to the Nigerian Premier League alongside Katino United from the Northern Conference Group. But that's it on sports. My name is Isaac. Over now to Simon for trending entertainment news.
Well, thank you, Isaac. In the world of entertainment, talented actor Olu Jacobs turns 81 years old today, and his wife Joke Silva has taken to social media to celebrate him. In her Instagram post, the veteran actress made sure to remind her fans that today is Olu Jacobs' official birth date. According to her caption, the fans have been celebrating him since the month of May. Silva recently spoke up about how they have been coping and what it has been like loving him post-dementia, saying that sometimes it feels like her husband is no longer there. She did, however, make note of how good a father he is to their children. Even though he has stepped out of the acting scene, Jacobs is a world-class actor and legend in the Nollywood sector. Prior to his illness, he had harnessed his acting skills for decades, garnering a whopping 40 years of experience under his belt. He has been described as one of Nollywood's finest actors, the best recovery in his wife's comment section. Away from that now, fast-rising star Spyro has taken to Instagram to once again shoot his shot at Megan Good, an American actress. In a chat posted by celebrity blogger Tunde Ednot, Spyro professed his undying love for the divorced actress. The singer first slid into Good's DM in 2021. Despite the fact that his initial message was unanswered, he re-entered her DM 2 years later after the success of his smash hit actress to look beyond their age gap. The artist took a step further and offered to take her surname if they were to get together because they are good together, then proceeded to give her his phone number. After the post went viral, the singer acknowledged Ednot's post in the comment section, thanking him for bringing his dream one step closer to reality. Moving forward, the Headies Academy released the nomination list for the 2023 Rookie of the Year today. The list features fast-rising rapper Odumodu Black, who has had an impressive 2023. Other artists on the list include Bloody Civilian, who featured in the Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Maven Records fast-rising star Bayani, singer and TikTok sensation Gucci, LT Skills, who scored a smash hit with his 2022 record ODG, and fast-rising act Kaid. The 6 artists will be competing in the voting category for the Rookie of the Year, who has had a successful year musically with the Rookie of the Year at the ceremony held at the Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Moving forward, Iyanya bears it all in a new interview as he speaks on his past relationship with Ghanaian actress Yvonne Nelson. He says he only did what a guy of his age would have done at the time. In an interview, he opened up about his relationship with his ex-girlfriend, the aftermath of their breakup, and the cheating allegations. The two began their romantic relationship in 2012, which was very much in the public eye up until they broke up in 2015. When asked about what he wanted the public to know, the actress made a tweet about their failed relationship in 2015. He lost about 6,000 Ghanaian fans on Twitter and received a lot of backlash online, which he has still not recovered from. And that's it.
To us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel, all of which you can find on our website, spectrumtv.ng. You've been watching Spectrum News at 9. My name is Xavier Robert. Wishing you a terrific night rest. Bye-bye.